they just don't know.
What I told you, Cutter.
People seen it, but they just don't know. People seen it, but they just don't know.
Huh?
People,
Let's go.
people seen it, but they just don't know. People seen it, but they.
All right, what's going on? What's going on? It's your boy Icon-E. And we're here on 910 Sports. Once again, I want to thank God for this opportunity. Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you.
Yo. Can you hear me? Okay, I want to thank God for this opportunity to be on here in this, this platform, in this platform to be able to, have another opportunity to get it right and to be able to interview great people. So for Mama's favorite host, you know what I'm saying? Barry White Jr., the next voice of television and movies himself, Jacob the Great. What's going on, fam?
Amen. Good morning to all. What's going on? Thank God for another day, a chance and a choice, another day to get it right. So we here, man. We grateful, and thanks for all that's watching.
Okay, that's what's up. So go ahead and introduce this young lady so we can get this interview started.
All right, man. We have none other than the world famous, Coach KERI. C.A. Johnson High School, Columbia, South Carolina. Head coach of the JV girls and head track coach. And she's the head track coach. So I'm pretty sure she was a sprinter when she was in school. She was out of here. So, Coach KERI, what's going on?
What's going on? How y'all doing this morning?
Doing good. So before we get into your journey, I always like to ask the guests, who is Coach KERI?
That is a good question. Sometimes in life we are still trying to figure that out. But I am the daughter of Darlene Prelo and the late Ivan MCkELVEY. Grew up in a small town called St. Stephen, South Carolina. And then I kind of transitioned back and forth because you know how small communities are. One parent grew up in one community, other parent grew up in another community. So I bounced back and forth between St. Stephen and Alvin, South Carolina. If anybody knows in this sports world where Alvin, South Carolina is, it is the home of Joe Hamilton, Courtney Brown, Pearson Prelo, Kalena Green, Batiska Brown. We kind of push out a lot of athletes, but small town. On the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. So I'm sure you'll hear the accent throughout this interview.
Yeah, so you from the low country. Okay.
Yeah, low country girl.
Low country girl. Okay, so tell us on, how did your journey get started?
No, you good. I was 8 years old, playing basketball in the Alvin Recreational Center. It is the Mecca of Alvin. We call it the gym. So we started, my parents and some of the men in our community started a recreational league for sports, just to give the kids something to do. And I was one of those kids. So I got the fortunate opportunity to play with the girls and boys in the community near us. So Jamestown, Bunno, St. Stephen, Alvin, all of those areas kind of combined to create these basketball teams so that we could have something to do, stay off the street. So I was 8 years old when I stepped on the basketball court, put a basketball in my hand. First thing I learned to do was dribble. Didn't learn to shoot, learned to dribble. I learned to handle the rock. And I credit that to my brother, Jaquez Prelo. So he made sure that we had a firm understanding of the sport of basketball, but the men in our community, including Mark Hamilton, made sure we had a firm understanding of what organized basketball was. So from there, I played up until my junior year of high school. Had the fortunate opportunity to play a little bit for Cleve Touchberry. If anybody knows basketball in the low country, Cleve Touchberry is one of the GOATs. So I had a fortunate short stint playing for Cleve Touchberry. From there, I went on to the track team under Alice Wilson and Pops. So I had a short stint, which was my junior and senior year of running track. I was a hurdler. From there, I was the captain of the dance team. So I was really involved in athletics in high school. So I wanted my experience when I went off to college to be the same. Unfortunately, I did not get an athletic scholarship. So I went off to Coastal Carolina on academic money. I was smart. And got involved in the intramural sports world at Coastal Carolina. So if anybody does not have a firm understanding of what intramural sports is, it's literally a sports world within the university for people like pickup games. So I got involved in basketball there, kickball there, flag football there. Got involved with a group of girls from Columbia, South Carolina, who kind of was like, hey, we see you athletic, let's play. So we formed teams in softball, kickball, basketball, flag football, and we ran with it. We had a great time, but I knew going out of college that I wanted to kind of somehow keep my life in the sports world. I just didn't know how. I wanted to be a graphic designer when I first started college. So to say I'm standing here as a teacher and coach is really interesting for me because this is not where I wanted to be. So I tell my athletes a lot, yeah, you have these dreams, but it's also God's destiny for you. And I feel like I'm right where I need to be, especially home at C.A. Johnson.
Okay. So let's rewind back a little bit. You're on the basketball court. You played up to your junior year, and what was your average? You know, your points, your rebounds, your assists, and so how did you?
I was averaging like 5 to 6 points a game. I was not out there to shoot. I think my love came from the sound of the ball hitting the court. So I literally honed in on my skills of dribbling, and handling the basketball, being able to see the court. I was grooming to be a true point guard. I didn't want to shoot because I felt my arms wasn't strong enough. So when people talk about basketball and understanding the game of basketball, that's where I came in. Like I groomed and studied the sport of basketball. I groomed and studied the sports of track and field because I wanted to be able to teach that side of athletics.
Okay. And so that experience from high school and then going to Coastal Carolina, which everybody knows about Coastal Carolina now. Especially men's basketball, and they have a great football program. You see people going to the NFL, people going to the NBA. A few far here in between, but you see that when you didn't used to see it. So, what was that experience like at Coastal Carolina? And you talk about the intramural sports, and I'm familiar with those as well because I remember one time when I was in school, the intramural cats used to play. The Division I cats, like the ones that had scholarships. Baseball, not football, but baseball and basketball, and the girls play softball and volleyball. So it is a predominant, sports. How could I say? Sports farm inside, the school, and you get noticed. People take notice. Even people that's on the team with scholarships, like, man, why you ain't? Nah, I ain't get a ride, but so you get noticed. So from that experience at Coastal Carolina, how did that farm go? And did you guys keep in touch with each other after school as far as the people there, and are some of them coaches as well?
Ironically, that part of my life is probably what I call home. Is when I figured out who I was as a coach, as an athlete. I knew coming out of high school I wasn't the best athlete, so I was just like, all right, but I want to stay involved. So at Coastal, we had a lot of different intramural sports, and like you said, a lot of the intramural sports were taking point on something. So like our flag football team competed against Clemson's flag football team and USC Columbia's flag football team. So they had a program where we could venture out and take those skills other places. So yeah, I do remember at one point intramural basketball became the thing for our football players to kind of release steam in the off season. We had some track people come in. in the intramural sports for flag football as well. So it was a great way for not only athletes that were on scholarship to stay in shape, but it was also a way for kids on campus to stay in shape. Coastal was really big on pushing intramural sports at that time. So it is where I met a lot of my friends, and we do keep in contact after college because most of us are even scholarship athletes. Most of us are coaches around the state of South Carolina. One of my good friends, he is the middle school track coach at Beechwood Middle School in Lexington, but he was a running back for Coastal's football team. One of the scholarship track athletes is the head track coach at Ridgeview. So yeah, we're scattered all out, and we like to laugh when people be like, "Oh yeah, do you know such and such?" Yeah, they went to Coastal. Or hey, how do you know coach such and such? Oh, they went to Coastal. So when we say, yeah, we went to Coastal and we are a big family, we understand the concept of, hey, listen, when we out here, nobody really knew Coastal back in the day. They know us now.
Right. So, but before I give it to my brother Icon, Coach KERI, this is our. You remember the homie Randy Page that came on with us, right?
Yeah, I do.
Icon.
I think he either
Icon.
frozen or
Say what now?
he
I
muted.
said you remember
Can
the
you hear
homie
me?
Randy Page that interviewed with us,
Can
right?
you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Coach KERI, his people. So I want to give it over to you. But Coach KERI, we glad to have you on.
Okay.
Pleasure to be.
Okay. So Coach KERI, where's your school? Your school that you coach at now? Where is it located? What city or area is it located?
We are in the downtown heart of Columbia, South Carolina. We are a 1A school, historically Black high school, one of two left in the state of South Carolina that are operating.
Got you. So basically, you said you did the intramural sports. So one thing I used to love to play when I was a kid was kickball. Yeah, I used to love to play. So when it comes to like a kickball team and an organized sport in kickball, what's the key to being successful in a kickball league?
Ironically, will be understanding the rules of baseball. So especially in the intramural and Parks and Rec realm of kickball, we follow baseball, softball rules. So understanding the softball, baseball rules, as far as high school league rules. Kickball comes from the lower extremity strength, so your leg strength, your calf strength, quads, all of that. So it's kind of about running. Kickball is all strength and running.
Wow, kickball.
Is it about like in baseball? We hit a baseball. It's about angles. It's about hitting the ball,
Kickball same way.
through the gaps or being able to, either you if you're not a home run hitter, then you have to understand angles. It's kind of is kickball kind of like that too.
Yes. So understanding where people are in the outfield, infield, understanding if you're not going kick it far left field, bunting to make sure it gets far enough away from you that you have enough time to run, to where the infield team don't have enough time to react. Making sure you put it right below their feet through the middle. Same terminology for kickball as baseball and softball.
Okay. So when it comes to volleyball, you seem to have a lot of success in that also. So what's your key to success as far as having a dominant volleyball team?
Endurance. The one thing I learned from Coach Touchberry is you have to be in shape. And one thing he made us do a lot is run. So I take that same philosophy in every sport that I go into, and making sure that my athletes have endurance to last a whole volleyball game, to last a whole track meet or a race or a kickball game, a flag football game. It's just making sure that they're in shape, and having them understand the concept of the game. So I find a lot of athletes just play. They don't understand why they do certain things. They just know it's tradition and the team before us did it, so we got to do it. But understanding and having a solid foundation of what the game actually is. So high school, as you heard, I didn't play volleyball. My cousins did. So I was always at a volleyball game watching, learning. That's one thing I pride myself on is learning the actual game of anything that I coach. So I understand what I am able to teach my athletes. So one thing about my volleyball girls is they all play other sports. My center on the volleyball court also plays basketball. She's a power forward in basketball. Because those skills in basketball, like jumping and making sure that she's able to run up and down the court, helps her with her volleyball and being able to set and block, being able to move positions on the court and make sure she's able to reach the ball in a timely manner. So yeah.
Okay, so what's the okay, they call him a striker, right? Striker. What's how important is it to have a good striker? If I'm getting the terminology right, when it comes to volleyball.
So strikers are, especially at the high school level, it's not a term that's used a lot. One of the terms that's used a lot in high school volleyball is a libero. So libero is having a great libero sets the tone for your team. So a libero is a athlete that can play mostly any position, but they find home on the back row. So they're your heavy hitters. They're your people that gonna get on the ground and dig. They're your people that's gonna go for anything and everything. If it's flying out a bounds on the left hand side, they running for it because they want to bring it back in to make sure that we don't lose a possession or lose an opportunity to score. My outside hitters are my most important people because they're the ones making sure that they set the tone of what defense is going to look like, set the tone of what offense is going to look like. But my most important person on the court at the time is my captain, my speaking captain, because they set the tone of what the team will do. They set the energy on the side, on our side of the court. They are the coach on the court. So I find that the captain or speaking captain on the floor at the time is the most important part because they're my voice on the court. And because I coach the JV, most of my girls are coming up from the middle school. We do have a middle school program that feeds into our JV program. So most of them are coming up from the middle school. Most of them have played together. So it's important for me to keep that camaraderie, keep that focus on them as an athlete, but also, hey, y'all go out there and have fun. Y'all know this game. Y'all played this game for 2 years now. But making sure that I continue to build their talent, continue to build their skill level so that when they do get the varsity, our varsity team can be unstoppable. And at this point, we're building. C.A. Johnson is not known for volleyball, so we're building, and we have been building for the last 4 years, and we've gotten a great program.
Okay. Back to you, Jacob.
All right. So historically, you're at C.A. Johnson, and if you're from anywhere in the state of South Carolina, you really know about the historic C.A. Johnson. I remember when I was in high school, we used to play against a high school down in the low country called Mayo High School. Um,
Yes.
it's no longer there, but it was one of the few, black high schools that's left. So historically, what are some of the things that you have learned about this school, and how's those conversations about being at, one of the last historically black high schools, not just in the state of South Carolina, but in the nation?
It's one thing I kind of constantly remind my athletes about, and our principal does a great job of trying to make sure that our students understand where they come from. We do have a new principal this year. His name is Dr. Brenton Cole, and we appreciate everything that he does for our students. But I also appreciate coming from a small town, coming from a 2A high school. You don't see a big plethora of historically black high schools that have the homecomings like South Carolina State and Voorhees and all of those schools. So to see that for me coming in, it was just like, oh wait, y'all like that. Y'all like that. Okay, cool. But one thing he reminds us of is our return to excellence, teaching our student athletes about the history of the people that come before them. So understanding that I stepped into some big shoes when it came to becoming a coach at C.A. Johnson was pertinent for me, but it was also important for me to learn about the school and its history and in itself. So when people talk about me becoming the head track coach, one of the first questions I ask is, who did it before me? Because I wanted to make sure that I had those conversations. And coming to find out, I'm the first one to do it as a female in almost 56 years. So I instantly got anxious and nervous because I'm like, wow, like I'm at a point where I'm making history in this historical unit, but I want my kids to understand that if I can do it, you can do it. If it's been done before, it can be done again. So I'm constantly reminding them, hey, listen, y'all, do y'all know where y'all come from? Like, do y'all know when people talk about C.A. Johnson, this is what they're talking about? So it's funny because I just reminded my one of my classes the other day. We were talking about just the history of Columbia in itself, and I was playing some music in the background, and Coco Jones came on, and I said, "It's funny that she would come on because her roots are here in Columbia." And they was like, "Huh? How do Coco Jones fit in Columbia?" I was like, "Do y'all realize that her dad is Mike Jones, who is a historical football player from C.A. Johnson High School?" And they were like, "No, Miss McKelvey, we didn't know that." So I'm like, learning and teaching about those things for my students and student athletes is important for me because in order to know where you're going, you got to know where you come from.
Right. The Mike Jones from C.A. Johnson, not to realize the Mike Jones who holds it, who has held a lot of records, until recently for probably like 31 years. So,
Yes.
if you play ball in South Carolina, you definitely know who Mike Jones is, and if you ever went to Brooklyn Baptist Church in South Carolina, you can remember when Coco was 13, 14 years old, leading songs and carried the church up. So, you know what I mean? So she's been at that. And now you're a teacher, so you're a teacher, and you teach mathematics. And so I just want to ask you an educational question when it comes to you being a teacher in South Carolina. Now, why or why not do you think that a lot of schools in South Carolina don't have the STEM program? The science, the technology, the economics and mathematics. Because if we look all around the country, the STEM programs are taking kids grade point average up from like 42% all the way up to 99%. When it comes to their mindset, when it comes to how they view technology, when it comes to how they understand economics, how they understand like the Dow Jones, how they understand business writing, how they understand analyzing commercial businesses and stuff. And we talking about kids that's only like 14 years old that understands. You can take them to Berkeley School of Business, and they could have a conversation with a professor. So why don't we have more STEM programs in the state of South Carolina, in your opinion?
Um, it falls back on understanding and knowledge. A lot of people like when I got into education, I didn't get into education for politics. I got into education to make sure that kids were prepared to be successful citizens in this society. But what I'm learning is that even in the politics of education, there are some people who don't know. And it's not a knock on them. It's just they don't know, they don't understand, they have never been in this realm. So when they're making decisions, they're making good decisions for the betterment of society. But when you have not understood the pathway to where we come from in education, you will never understand why it's important to scale back on certain things and boost certain things. So I'll say that in my knowledge of the education as a whole in South Carolina, there are some programs in some districts who push the STEM attributes. Richland One has a great magnet programs. across their middle schools that are pushed in the STEM realm. Richland 2 has basically turned all of their middle schools into magnet programs where students are allowed lottery choice to figure out which pathway they would like to go in. Rich Lex 5 has a strong STEM background. Berkeley County and the Low Country, Charleston County, all of those have great STEM programs, and Greenville counties in the upstate are pushing STEM programs as well. I think it's just making sure that we continue to push those proponents, getting educators inside the classrooms that have a sound foundation in innovation and mathematics, engineering, and making sure that we have teachers. One of the things South Carolina is battling with right now is making sure we got professional teachers, certified teachers in those spots, because colleges are not pushing out educators anymore. So we have, the state of South Carolina has resorted to making sure that we have avenues and alternate certification things where those who have found education as a second career are able to get in and get certified and get to teaching. So I was fortunately one of those people. I did not start out as a true education major at Coastal Carolina University. I was a computer science major, decided I wanted to teach, and maneuvered my degree to where I became an interdisciplinary studies major, minoring in education and development. So when I got out of college, I was able to get into an alternative certificate program where I focused on, hey, what college courses did you take? All right, you were able to do this and pushed it that way. So I took a lot of math courses while I was at Coastal, so that kind of helped me with my background in math. I took a lot of computer courses while at Coastal, so that kind of helped with the technology aspect. So now that I'm in with a teaching certificate, I have the background in technology. I have the background in gifted and talented. I have the background in Read to Succeed, to make sure that I'm a well-rounded teacher, to make sure my students are well-rounded. And not all teachers come into the profession to make sure that our students are learning. But one thing I pride myself into is because I had an educator for a parent. Education starts at home. And I think that one of the issues we have in the state of South Carolina is that we forget that education starts at home. So parents are sending kids to school for us as teachers to make sure that, oh, we are teaching this, but you're not reviewing when you get home. So I'm spending 8 hours a day teaching your child and making sure your child understands policies and procedures, all for them to go home and you undo everything I did. So now I got to get back the next day on a Tuesday and make sure I teach not only my policies and procedures again, for you to go home and undo it.
Well, I can respect that, and I can respect that you teach mathematics too. Um, so it just used to interest me of some of the older people that you know they maybe didn't finish school, but they was kind of like carpenters or home improvement guys, and you'd be like, well, how you know that? They was like, I can eye it out, and then you can take the tape measure and measure, and it be on point. So mathematics, a person that is top of the head in math, like off the top of the head with mathematics, that's a different type of person because they kind of know how to move swiftly in the economy. They know how to move in business. They don't kind of how to figure it out. Like you can't break their numbers down for them. They're gonna break their numbers down and put them in the right place. And so, with you teaching these kids that we all know the world has turned into a numbers game. And so, and
Definitely.
so, if you can identify the positive side with the numbers, of how the economy is thriving, or maybe the economy is setting still, but there's still the positive side of numbers. And so,
Definitely.
with you saying that, with that being said, is that some of the things that you see striving in the education system? Are they taking economics one, economics two, economics three? Are they learning about LLC, sole proprietorship? I know when I was in school, we didn't. I only I only learned about I didn't learn about that in college. I only learned about that. It was a young white guy. He was about 24. We was at a gas station. I heard him talking. He said, "Yo, oh yeah, I'm going to go check on my other business." I was like, "Man, this dude younger than me. What checking his other business?" And so I asked him. I said, "Man, what kind of business?" He said, "I got 4 of them." He said, I've been owning businesses since I was 19 years old in college." I'm like, "How so?" He said, "Man, you just got to get the secret sauce from people who have business. You know what I mean?" He said, "You got to put somebody in your back pocket and listen to them so they can train you up on how to navigate through the world." Because his theory was, you know, a 9 to 5 will never pay me what I'm worth. He said, unless you love doing it, then the money don't matter. But if you're the type of person that want to create some generational wealth, if you may have kids later on, or you want to just make sure your parents, they older now, that they ain't never got to work no more, he said, then that's what you strive on. So, but what I see from the economic side, and this goes back in education, I just, and I talk about this a lot, man, and you know, cause I love my black and brown people, but listen, my my cousin is the mayor of my hometown. He's the mayor of my hometown, and he tells me all the time, we're not at the city council meetings, we're not at the county council meetings, and we are not at the school board meetings. And I try for the life of me to figure out why has it been like that for the last 60 or 70 years. And but that stems back into understanding the principles of business ran by the city and the county, and understanding how much education fluctuates and changes over a period of time. You know, it's always something new in education every day, and you know, a lot of times, you know, it's like when they change the course of way we do math, you know, a lot of parents call me scratching their head, and I was like, well, think about it this way: you do it this way, you do it your way, and let your child show you how they doing it, but you're gonna come up with the same exact answer. It's just a different format. It's like a lifestyle thing.
Let me stop you right there. So I hear that from a lot of parents. It's not teaching math in a new way. It's not. It's looking at it from a different aspect. So when we're in elementary school, we learn place value. We're
Uh-huh.
now teaching kids to multiply, divide by place value. It's nothing different. We just look at it different. So when
Okay.
we did long division in step format, and it was looking at the entire number. No, they don't do that now. They look at each digit by itself and how can we multiply and divide by itself. The one thing is we are teaching now conceptual math versus whole math. We learn whole math. It was, what is 100 divided by 5? So we took 100 and divided it by 5. Now they're taking 100 and the 100 place value. Can 5 go into 1? No, 5 cannot go into 1, but 5 can go into 10. Why can 5 go into 10? Because 5 goes into 10 2 times. Well, can 5 go into 0? No, 5 can't go into 0. So we're looking at it conceptually now versus as in the whole entire number. It's no different.
Okay. So
And I got a lot of parents who look at it and be like, what is this new math? It's not new math. It's just we're teaching kids to look at the molecular part of it. Whereas it's the details for us. In our generation, we looking at the details. All right, what's the details? Well, we know it's 100 pieces. We know that we can split it into groups. That's the same thing they're learning. They're just looking at it different.
okay. So Coach KERI. So analytically, when you break it down, not just from the math format, but from the intellectual format. You know what I'm saying? From the smartness, you know, how it fluctuates the brain cells to make you think better, to really give you a height of thinking that impresses people, right? And not just regular
Yes,
people, but impresses people who are underwriters for these state test scores. You know, because it's some
right.
writing in the background done with these testing. You know what I mean? So and those are people that we don't never see or talk about. They are the writers who put the test together. So
Right.
from a analytical and intellectual standpoint of view, would you say the whole math is a math that's you know it's it's more layman terms, or would you say the new way of math, but it's just in a different format, is better as a whole, for the future?
Honestly, I think it should gradually increase. So I understand the conceptual design of mathematics and education as a whole, because when we're teaching reading, we teach in stages. When we're teaching math, back in the day, we were teaching whole math, all of it at once. I think we should break numbers down just like we break words down. So when we're teaching a child to read, we're teaching them sounds, letter recognition, blends, putting words together, sight words, making sure that we understand what that word sounds like, what that word looks like, and being able to recognize it off top. Then they learn to read by increasing the reading level by adding more words, increasing the words levels by adding more words, looking at definitions. I think we should look at math in the same way, because what we don't understand is that numeracy is literacy. So the world has taken this big stance on literacy and making sure that kids understand how to read. And South Carolina has taken a stance on making sure that kids know how to read by the 3rd grade. And if they don't, it is a trajectory of data that shows that kids that don't know how to read by the 3rd grade won't be successful. But when you have kids that don't know how to multiply, but they can effectively read by the 3rd grade, are they literate? No, they're not, because numeracy is a form of literacy. So if you don't know how to add numbers, but you can read the word R, what is that telling our world? That numbers are not important, but numbers make this world go round. You're not going to come in here and mess up my money. Yeah, I can read your contract, but how much is this contract telling me I'm worth? So I think we should look at it in that same standpoint when we're teaching 1-digit numbers and what is this, the basis of 1 to 10. Yeah, we're teaching 1 to 9 and 0 as a number. So now we're putting numbers together to make tens and these hundreds and thousands and looking at it as a place value. But when we come to multiplication and adding 2-digit numbers, we need to make sure that that is a sound foundation before we get to, all right, can I divide 6,347 divided by 4? Can I do that? Then we're taking it, and then I teach 6th grade math, so my kids are expected to know multiplication like the back of their hand, and they're struggling. They're struggling on multiplication facts, and that's across the board as 6th graders in the state of South Carolina. But you're supposed to know multiplication facts 3rd and 4th grade.
Okay.
So when things like COVID happen, where 3rd and 4th graders are learning from home, where the environment may not be conducive to learning, and then you come back and they're in the 6th grade and they're expected to learn long division and ratios and multiplying and dividing fractions, and they can barely tell you what 3 times 3 is.
Wow.
We're gonna hit a struggle.
Right.
And then they get to high school and they're expected to do algebra 1, algebra 2, calculus, and they're still struggling and looking at a multiplication fact chart or using a calculator. The world becomes a difficult place for them.
Right. I can dig it. So, before I pass it to my brother Icon, you're now tuned in with the 910 Sports Podcast Network, powered by the VGN, Village Global Network, multiple radio stations in 191 countries, and we're with Zeno FM with additional online monitoring by online radio box. You're tapped in with the 901 Sports Podcast Network with none other than Coach KERI. Back to you, Icon.
Okay, in the countries, let me just name a few countries. Let me shout out Honduras. Let me shout out South Sudan. Let me shout out to South Africa. Let me shout out Sierra Leone. Let me shout out Lebanon, Libya. You know what I mean? Netherlands. So these are just a few of the 191 countries that each week I'm gonna shout out different countries to let you know what countries that we're in. You know what I mean? So I'm in Philippines. You know, I ain't even heard.
Say again?
This country reunion. I ain't even, I had to do my heard of that. You know, You know, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. They probably pronounce it a whole different way. But you know what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm just wanting to shout out some of the classes that we involved. Page 910 Sports on YouTube, and download the
Breaking up.
VGN app. Oh, so anyway,
Breaking up.
oh, and shout out to, I don't know if you said T, you said T Dub
you
and She
got
Real
T
Radio.
Dub and She Real.
You sound breaking up.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, back to basically, and then piggybacking off of what Jacob was saying, I think our generation, the generation before that, kind of failed, or almost like, I ain't saying necessarily we failed this generation, but we not understanding or understand the importance of math. Because back in those days, when you had that local person that owned a restaurant or owned a, you know, I had a guy on a fish store, I had another guy on a candy on his candy store. And they probably were dealing with basic math. That's why they never really advanced to past that level. And the thing about it is that now we see, when it comes to real estate, when we come to see starting LLCs, when it comes to, like you say, contracts, different things you try to do in business, you have to have a certain advanced level of math understanding or whatever. So I think that's the biggest thing between now and before, is because we just look at math like, well, I'm not going to never use algebra. What A plus Z, I ain't going to never use that. You know what I mean? So, and now we understand, now being in this generation, in this world, how things are very different, and definitely math is very important. And it's sad that our generation can't even help our kids because we clueless when it comes to what they call new math. You know what I'm saying?
And
so,
it's ironic because I can have that argument all day of well, when I'm gonna use algebra. You use algebra every day when you're trying to figure things out, when you are not given a certain amount of space on your computer for your games, and you trying to figure out how much space you gonna need for what you do have. What people don't realize is we use that every day. And I try to include real world experiences within my classroom. So I bring in speakers. This past year, I had a local graphic design artist and music artist come into my classroom, and she talked about how she uses math in her class, in her business, and how she uses math in her everyday life to make herself money. I had a charcuterie board business owner come in and talk to my students about ratios and fractions and how she uses math in her business. I'm a business owner myself, so I'm owning 2 businesses and making sure that I do everything I need to do to show my students like how I use math in my everyday life. And I talk about math in a positive way so that, you know, my kids walk out of my classroom feeling like they're empowered to do something in the math realm. But I find myself hearing a lot in my classroom where my mom said math is hard, or my mom didn't like math in school. So we tend to, even in our generation, tend to portray our thoughts on math in school on our kids. So they come to school and they feel like, oh, well, my mama didn't do well in school, so I'm not going to do well in school, when they can be excelling. We talk about athletes as far as making sure that they are student athletes first and students first. A lot of our athletes don't understand why they need school in order to go to college. Like, if I'm good at basketball, they should give me a scholarship. No, sir. No, ma'am. If your grades is not right, sir and ma'am, you're not going to nobody's school. That's the first thing. And I find myself laughing because even helping my godson with his collegiate process, I found that a lot of college coaches was asking, well, what's his GPA? They weren't concerned about his marks. They weren't concerned about his times. They were like, okay, what's his grades like? How is he around his peers? They were looking for the holistic athlete versus are they good on the track? Are they good on the court? What's his numbers? What's his averages? Yeah, they were looking at what's he like in school? Is he a trouble kid? Do he cut up in class? How often does he get in trouble? What's his GPA like? Can I see his transcript? That's what they were concerned about. They weren't concerned. And if it wasn't, they were looking for a kid and they were like, all right, we want this kid for football. But the coaches was like, man, his attitude bad. They would turn around and walk out the door. So I think in our community, in our African American community, yeah, we push the college D1 athlete, but what they don't realize is a D3 athlete get as much shine as D1. Like, yes, my godson is a D2 athlete, but he had D1 offers, but it was his choice to go to a D2 school because he wanted to bring awareness to making sure that students understand that, yeah, you didn't get the D1 offer, but you had 6 D2 offers on the table that you turned down. Money is money, especially when you want to go to the next level. I have athletes now that I have a stellar athlete who has 1 offer sitting on the table. So it's like, all right, what he was like, Ms. McKelvey, my grades, I slipped up. I got too cocky. I had a big head and I let my grades slip. So a lot of them went away. Cool, we can get them back on the table. What are you doing now? Like, how can I help you? So I look at the athlete because I'm a teacher. Yes, I'm a coach, but I look at, all right, what can I do to help you get the scholarship money? So I was just texting a college coach yesterday. Hey, I got these athletes that are running these times.
You know what's crazy you say that because
Go ahead.
You say that is because I feel like over the years, a lot of times teachers, not you per se, but teachers, a lot of times don't when a kid much push them through, push that student through, him or her through, to help them get to that next level. And then when they figure out, like by the time they're junior, senior, like, oh, I want to go to Alabama in football, I want to go to Carolina Duke in basketball, I want to go to South Carolina as a girl basketball player, or Tennessee or Connecticut. I can't go because my grades ain't right. And that's because y'all waited too long to emphasize the grade portion of being a student athlete. So now that the student find themselves trying to cram to be able to pass the SAT, to be able to bring their grades up to go to those schools. So
Definitely.
you know what I mean. So I think a lot of that the ball's been dropped in that area too, as far as when it comes to that side. You know what I mean. So we have to start letting our kids know at an early age that if you want to be a student athlete and if you see your kid, then you see that when you become trying to go to college, and they start talking about those big name schools. Okay, this is what you got to do now. You know what I'm saying? We can't wait till you get 10th, 11th, 12th grade and start trying to hone down on your skills, on your
but that start at home.
I mean, that you have to do. So by the time you get 10th, 11th, 12th grade, because basically what people don't realize, high school is all it's doing is kind of all you doing is just doing repetitive stuff from middle school and just doing a little bit more advanced stuff to get to college and start doing some college courses. So that's all it really is. But if you struggle in the middle school, you dang sure gonna struggle in high school if you didn't get it in middle
Definitely
school. You know what I'm saying? Just before I was gonna ask you this: what motivates you to want to be involved in so many sports at one time, like year round? Like you named about 8 sports at one time. So I'm like, what motivates you to want to do all being that much involved in athletics and different sports as much as you
are? So ironically, it started when I was a kid. I watched my mom. My mom got up every Saturday morning. My mom was always at a basketball game or a football game supporting. And I remember times where, like, there's a 10-year gap between me and my brother. So when he was graduating high school and going off to college, we were following his games. But once he graduated and, stopped playing sports, I wasn't old enough to play on the high school team yet. But my mom was still at basketball games. And I didn't understand why. But I knew I was at a basketball game. I knew I was at a football game. Like, we were always at a Timberland basketball game, even though she didn't have children playing. She was there to support. She was there to support her cousin's children and her nieces and nephews that were of age to play. And so when we got to playing, me, my younger sister, she was always at a game. I think I can remember one game in my entire athletic career that my mom missed. And she was always there. Even once we graduated high school and were no longer playing sports, she was always going to a game. Before her grandkids started playing, she was always at a game. So it was just like, dang, she is there. Like, she is one of those faces in the stands where kids can look in the stands and say, hey, Miss McKelvey, Miss Darlene here to support me. And then as a coach, as a teacher, I noticed that it was about building relationships. The one thing I heard from a lot of people in the academic realm was build the relationship. So a part of building the relationship was making sure that you are there on and off the court. Like, so my athletes know I'm calling. There is nothing that go on. Yes, I'm not at C.A. Johnson teaching, but there's nothing that go on in that building with my athletes that I don't know about. If I got to get a call during the day, they know I'm going to lose my mind when I get to practice. Because why is it that teachers have to call me to tell me that you're not doing your part? So I became involved when I saw that kids needed somebody. And if I don't have biological children, I'm not married. So it was, what can I do to help you? So when people talk about my godson, they talk about me being there. Yeah. I remember I came to C.A. Johnson. My godson was already in high school. So when I took the job at C.A. Johnson, he was fresh to the track. He was a football and a basketball guy. So it was just like, all right, if Jay come, he'll come. So when he came, he was running the 100. He was on the 4x1 team. And he was doing a lot of other things, but he wasn't in my event. I'm a hurdler, so he wasn't in my event. And I remember saying, hey, come here. Can you try this for me real quick? And it was like, they trusted me enough to say, all right, coach, I'll try it. And I looked at another coach the minute he jumped over her and was like, do you want to ring? If you want to ring, I just say, trust me enough to get you there. And he was like, you think you can do you see him? Like, trust me, and I guarantee you I'll get you a ring. Not only did I get him a ring, and I had the conversation with the young man, like, and then COVID happened. And I was like, oh, hell, they don't really know me. How can I get them to understand who I am? And it was, you got to go to stuff that they're involved in. As teachers, they got to be able to see us outside of the classroom. So I did go to football games at C.A. Johnson. I didn't know nothing about C.A. Johnson football at the time, but I was there to support the kids that I knew were on the track team. And I remember my godson looking up in the stands, was like, yo, hey, what you doing here? I was like, I came to see y'all. He was like, but you don't really know us. I know, I don't. But I'm here to see y'all. And it was, all right, I'm sitting in the stands, and now I'm taking ownership. Like, yeah, let's go C.A. Johnson. Like, I don't know none of these people, but let's go C.A. Johnson. But because I'm a sports girl. So it's like, all right, let's go. And then when they started to see my love for C.A. Johnson, they started to love their own school even more. So now I built the relationship so I can talk to them. All right, hey, that play, that was trash. That was a trash play. Like, you got to do better. You could have got to the ball in time. So now they're putting more effort into it. So because they know I'm watching and they know we're going to talk about it. So now that my godson is in high school, he's now of age where he's like, all right, I'm going to take track serious. It was, all right, son, listen, if you trust me, I promise I'll get you a ring. I'm not only going to get you a ring, I'm going to get you college offers because you say that's what you want to do. Sometimes as adults, we got to listen to kids. They're not always wrong. We got to listen to where they are and understand they have a viewpoint, because I think the older generation forgets that these kids, they human. They see, they have emotions, they feel, and they have a voice and they want to use it. That's the one thing our generation forgets, that these kids going to talk and they're going to talk out their mouth. So we got to be able to listen to them. They're not always wrong. They just might not know how to say it correctly. So teaching my kids and my students how to speak correctly. Yeah, it's not always disrespectful if you say what you got to say without getting your feelings involved. So my godson agreed. He was like, all right, I trust you. Let's go get it. I took him off the 4x1. I took him off the 100 and I put him in the 110 hurdles. I put him in the 400 hurdles. He got on the 4x4 and I was like, your last event is up to you. His junior year, he was like, I'm going to do the 200. And then his senior year was like, I'm going to go 4 for 4. I got a state ring and he won the 400 hurdles. His junior year, he came in second in the 110 hurdles. He was like, I want to go 4 for 4. I think I can do it. So I was like, all right, you already got a ring in the 4x4. You got a ring in the 400 hurdles. You got a silver medal in the 110 hurdles. Let's go. He was like, all right, I want to get back on high jump. And I'm going to go 4 for 4. His senior year, he did it. He won the hurdle race. He got a gold in that. He won the high jump. He got a gold in that. He won the 4x4. He got a gold in that. And then he came in second in the 110 hurdles. So he was like, I'm content. I want to go to college. All right, let's do it. I sought out college coaches and I learned the college process of how to get college coaches to see my athlete. I jumped on Twitter and made sure he had an account on Twitter, and I made sure that he was visible. I put him in AAU track and field with Team Blaze here in Columbia. So I made sure he was visible. A lot of parents get in this process and don't understand that your kid has to be visible. College coaches have to see them. It's big schools like Ridgeview that's going to always have a college coach in there. But it's small schools like C.A. Johnson that if you got the talent, they coming. They going to hear about you. They going to see you. You don't have to transition schools to make sure you get seen. You can stay at the small schools like C.A. Johnson, Mayo High School, Darlington High School, and they coming to see you. East Clarendon wasn't on the map before. Back in the day, they were. But Talaysia Cooper made sure that East Clarendon name was known.
I just want to piggyback on what you said now. We all know the superstar Ivory Latta that played for the Tar Heels. And we talking about a graduating senior class with 125 seniors. You know, when most schools got about 500, 600, some 1,000 seniors. But when I tell you, man, that when people heard that she would have 32 points and 9 steals and 12 assists and, you know, and like, who is this little chick just at a 1A school
Right.
that's really hitting people in their chin like that? So, and I tell people that some of your favorite players come from small schools, you know?
Yes.
Like Jerry Rice was at a small high school. The small high school in Mississippi, you know, T.O. small high school, you know, some of the just like Icon, some of the players that graduated from your high school wasn't a huge high school with 3,000-4,000 kids, correct?
No, we weren't. I think we were a 3A school when I was in school, and now we're down to a 2A school. And I was just about to say that, like, people don't realize that Kalena Green, who is a graduate of Timberland High School, went off to UConn to play in Connecticut, went to the WNBA, went overseas to play ball. They don't realize Kalena got kicked off she got kicked out the gym her 6th grade year because she was dribbling the ball too much. Touchberry put her out. She was the manager. She was fired because she was dribbling the ball too much. So it doesn't matter where you start. If you have the talent, they're coming. Like, nobody was checking for Timberland basketball back then. You might have heard us around the state of South Carolina, but Gino came down to St. Stephen.
Right.
That was unheard of. Like, so when I say that these student athletes don't have to transition schools, yeah, we have schools now like Gray Collegiate, Oceanside, Legacy, Atlantic coming up in Myrtle Beach. Shout out to Coach Rivens. Shout out to Coach Bacon over there in Legacy in Lexington. They are producing, but it's at the expense of a lot of other schools.
Yeah, cause you know you got these kids that transferring like they're in a college. High school kids act like they're in a college transfer portal. You know what I mean? It's like you know, I know schools. You know, it's like, man, like you know, Strong Thurman is like Aiken South. Well, Johnson, South Carolina, and Edgefield, some parts of Aiken, but you had kids that transfer all the way from North Augusta to go play at Thurman. You know what I mean? And then you had kids the leave Batesburg, Leesville High School and go to Gilbert and play in Gilbert, South Carolina. Then you have kids that leave Brooklyn, Casey and come to Lexington and play. You know what I mean? Then you have kids that was at Mount Pleasant High School to transfer to Somerville. You know what I mean? Like so you know, it's wild the way these the programs are not built like they once was. You know, because when I grew up, athletes played like, and we didn't have much Pop Warner then, but whatever all the bicycles were, that's where the athletes kind of played together, and they've been playing together since they was, you know, 7, 8 years old. So everybody know
Definitely.
each other's strengths. You know what I mean? So
Right.
you know, and I think a lot of coaches are in competition nowadays. You know what I mean? Versus the athletes. You know what I mean? And you're not one of them coaches because you love your athletes.
Yeah,
And
no.
and
I'm
you
never. I'm a learning coach. So yeah, you might see me at a track meet and I'm literally just watching. I'm watching other coaches. I'm watching other athletes. I'm out watching how coaches respond to athletes. But I'm also involved. So I can say I'm going to always coach an athlete. And I learned that from my uncle. My uncle was the track coach at Socastee High School back in the 90s. And one thing he prided himself in, and I hear athletes even that went to Conway High School or St. James High School, they talk about how he wasn't their coach, but he would coach them. And that's what I pride myself in, making sure that if I'm at the high jump pit, I'm coaching every kid over there. Hey, because if I want my kid to be the best, he gotta. I don't want you at your lowest. I don't want you making mistakes. So when my kid beat you, he beating the best. He beating you at your best. So yeah, hey, go ahead and tuck your butt. You the bottom of your butt hitting the high jump bar. That's what's making it rock, and it's gonna fall off. So when you lean, and I want you to look over your left shoulder, or hey, you floating too high over that hurdle. Go ahead and squat down a little bit. Make sure you counting your steps. I'm teaching every kid that's at the hurdle pit. I'm lining up for the hurdles. I'm praying over kids. I'm making sure that kids are comfortable when they get in the blocks. I'm teaching at a track meet because I want my kid to be his or her best. And when they beat you at his or her best, I don't want you to say, well, I had an off night. No. Because but if we're not all out here for the kids, then you're going to have events where, the gun misfire and kids are slipping out blocks and you disqualifying them. If we here for the kids on a Wednesday night, that should never happen.
Right. Well, I just want to say is when it comes to track, and I'm gonna give you 3 names that play in the NFL. I'm gonna say Darryl Green, Deion Sanders, and James Jett.
All had records in track and field.
Huh?
All had records in track and field.
Right. And so what I'm gonna say that you have great athletes that's fast, but you have athletes that's fast in understanding the technical part of being a runner. You know what I mean? And so once you understand being a technical part of running, because I got a homeboy named Corey Daniels, and he was fast our whole life. But once he got with the right track coach in the technical part of running, it's like, man, that boy run like a deer, for real. Like I'm talking about out of here. Like the technical part had him so much faster, it was just unbelievable. I'm like, man, he was already fast. I'm talking about leaving everybody, but now he got the technical part down. It's like, it was like mind-boggling on how much you can get the technical part of running down. And you know, you just used to look at players like Darryl Green back when I was a kid, man. These players will be 20 yards ahead of Darryl Green. And then you'll see him take off. You'll see him coming. And then once he get to about the past 20 yards, it's like some jets to turn on. Like somebody put a computer chip in his back. I'm like, that's a technical runner. That's a technical runner. So, man, I just wanted to add that before we close the icon. You got anything to say?
Yeah, but you know what's funny about Darryl Green and Deion Sanders and certain players, like athletes that play other than just track and field, is understanding their speed and understanding their quickness. Because a lot of people could be fast and then they get to the NFL or whatever and they don't succeed because they don't even understand their own speed and their own quickness and their own technique. So they get to the NFL and people like, oh, this person ran a 4.2 at the combine. Why are they not succeeding in the NFL? Because they don't understand, the nuances of what they're doing. They just know they fast. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So basically, but before we get out of here, the co-owner of Village Local Network, she said, I want to give you your flyer because she said something great about you as a coach. So I don't know if you could see what she said. because I was gonna have you read it yourself, see what she said about you.
It says the world needs more teachers and coaches like Coach MCkELVEY. Thank you for pouring so much love and greatness into the children in your district. You are truly an inspiration and blessing to many. Salute, Queen. Salute. Thank you so much for the opportunity, you guys. Ooh, reading that was woo. Woo.
Bless it.
Yeah, see, that's why I wanted you to read it yourself, so you can get the impact for yourself. You know what I mean? Of what she said about you, because that's the truth. You know, one thing that was disturbing to me about when my kids were in school, was going to PTA meetings, and you got 15 kids in school, but you might have 15, 20 parents at PTA meetings. And it's like, this is sad. Or even like when my kids play football in the band, football team, yeah, they suck, but at the same time, you still need to be there to support the team. And you might have you have more people, you have more players, people in the band, kids in the band, and you had people in the stands watching the game. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like when we want our kids are in the streets and doing the stuff they do, because parents, you're not supporting kids when they are positive. So what's really going on? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I'll say this: life is hard. And I can only imagine life with children. So there are resources out here to help you. Like, as a parent, don't be too prideful that you can't ask for help. As a teacher, we at the bottom of the totem pole, and it seems like these mandates are getting handed down, passed down until like the responsibilities as a teacher are felt. Like, we got to do everything, and everybody above us is not doing nothing. Don't give up. Ask for help too. I am a ball of resources because I'm a continuing learner. The one thing my mom taught me in her journey of life is always learn something. So I'm always learning about new things. I'm always got my nose into somebody's business because I'm trying to learn so that I can better help my athletes. I can better help my students.
Hold on. Stop right there for a second. What you just said. Just stop right there. What you just said. And I put this on my Facebook page a couple of weeks ago. I said the one thing that black neighborhood is that black folks stop being nosy. And I asked my brother, I said, what do you think I meant by that? He said basically back in those days, 80s and 90s, that old lady, that old man in the neighborhood, they seen them kids in the neighborhood up, they check it. And then you get checked to get home. By the time you get home, they done make a phone call to your mom or your aunt, your dad or whoever, your grandmother, telling you, oh, we done seen your people up. And I said that's the one thing in the black neighborhood is that we stop caring about what's going on in our neighborhood, and we wondering like, oh, why our neighborhood jacked up, but here in this neighborhood is good, because they actually, if you come in their neighborhood, the fool, they calling the police or they checking you or they doing something. You know what I mean? They're gonna be proactive. They're not gonna just sit around and let the neighborhood get the because you come over there and we got all on no snitching rule. You know what I'm saying, in our neighborhoods.
But you know what's funny? My younger sister and I talk about the village. Like we were raised on it takes a village to raise a child. And then sometimes I see on Facebook and social media that, oh, well, what happened to the village? You happened to the village. And I'm saying this looking dead in the camera. You happened to the village because you decided that nobody was good enough to reprimand or say anything to your child, and you negated the village. And then when you needed the village to come help you with that same child, they didn't want to put a hand up to help you because of your mouth.
Exactly.
So when we say the village stopped being nosy, you caused the village to stop being nosy, because when the village was helping you and reprimanding you, you didn't like it. So you didn't want anybody to say what they could say to your child, and you didn't want Miss Martha across the street to tell your child to get in the house because you wasn't home, because you was probably doing what you needed to do to support your family. But Miss Martha couldn't say nothing to your child because you didn't like how Miss Martha said, get in the house.
Yep. So I appreciate you coming on today, Queen. You're an inspiration to all of us out here, and it's funny because they said what somebody said in the comments, they definitely see you being a repeat guest, and we definitely like to have come back on, especially when it's dealing with education. When it comes to just getting out, putting out information there, and things that need to be talked about. You know what I mean? Because we definitely type of podcast that we not about being messy. We not about the everyday stuff. We actually try to bring people on like yourself that's gonna educate us as well as the audience to be greater, and have understanding. Like when you talk about math, and a lot of people don't understand how important math is now because of when you're trying to build businesses, and you need that certain level of math to be able to do it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So I appreciate you. If you got any shout, any social medias or whatever you want to put out there, you know, you can do that now, please.
So first off, I want to thank God, because without him, this opportunity would not be possible. Thank you to the C.A. Johnson family, Dr. Brenton, co-op principal, Mr. Damian Franklin, our athletic director. Shout out to the C.A. Johnson athletic teams, football, basketball, Coach Dean, Coach Key, Coach Crystal. Shout out to my staff, the Coach Williams. We got Baby Williams, Corey Williams. We got Jamal Williams. Shout out to Dr. Antoinette Gibson, our female assistant. Shout out to our kids, kids at C.A. Johnson. Y'all keep striving. Y'all keep doing what y'all doing. Coach MCkELVEY always going to have y'all back. Shout out to my godson, Javon Riley, at Claflin University. They will be starting their season this weekend. Shout out to him and his team. Just thankful. Shout out to Randy Page. Thank you for the opportunity and putting my name in the bucket. Definitely thank you for being a part of my village. Shout out to my mom, my grandma, my sisters, my brothers. Thank you to Coastal Carolina University for producing me and what I do. I do not take this business lightly. It is not a work. Teaching is not a work of heart. Art is a work of heart. And as you can see, my heart is really big. Thank you guys. If you want to follow the C.A. Johnson Hornet family, as you can see in my background, I have the March schedule. These are the places we will be. And I'm gonna step off camera so y'all can see it. We have a few fundraisers coming up. So if you want to follow, we are on Twitter and Instagram at CAJ_XCTF for cross country track and field. We'll have different things posted out. We are trying to, promote the program and build the program. So we want to make sure that all of you guys see us. Again, we are on X, formerly known as Twitter, at CAJ_XCTF. We are also on Instagram at CAJ_XCTF. We would love y'all support. Thank you guys for the opportunity again.
All right. I appreciate you coming on. You have a blessed, wonderful rest of the weekend, and try to fit, because I know y'all get to that grind, that last couple months of school. So hopefully get your rest, you know what I'm saying, to be ready to be able to get these kids on to the next level.
Thank you so much.
Have a good day.
People seen it, but they just don't know.
What I told you, Cutter.
People seen it, but they just don't know. People seen it, but they just